Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a pretty massive reality in modern software development. We're looking at why undocumented software isn't just some minor annoyance, it's actually a ticking time bomb. Think of a lack of documentation as technical debt that is actively accumulating compound interest right under your nose. If you want your digital applications to scale and, actually last, we have to recognize that code is only half the application. Okay, let's dive into this. If you've spent any time around engineering teams, you have absolutely heard this exact phrase. We'll write it if we have extra time. It's the classic engineering excuse, right? It gets treated like this after-party chore, a task you'll eventually get to when the real work is done. It's a universal, highly relatable myth. Because, spoiler alert, nobody ever has extra time. And while it's super easy to laugh about, the reality is incredibly serious. When we trade documentation like an optional extra, we completely ignore the fact that the code itself is only half the application. That undocumented half becomes the ticking time bomb, just waiting to detonate the moment you need to scale, troubleshoot, or onboard someone new. To help defuse that bomb, here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The time bomb itself. 2. The ecosystem. 3. Project versus product mindsets. 4. Lifecycle mapping. 5. The AI revolution. And 6. The modern playbook. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The ticking time bomb. And that hidden half of your app. Let's be honest, the code itself always gets the glory. It's what executes, it's what users interact with. But documentation is the unheralded hero keeping the app scalable, stable, and sane. Without it, even the most beautifully written code rapidly degrades into a massive liability. Moving to Section 2, the ecosystem, and going way beyond static PDFs. It's time to completely broaden our perspective here. Documentation isn't just a static PDF manual dumped in some forgotten shared drive. It's an active, living, three-pillar ecosystem that powers every single layer of your strategy, affecting developers, customers, and business stakeholders alike. Let me paint a picture for you regarding that internal engineering pillar. Imagine your brilliant lead developer. They know every quirk, every shortcut, and every single database dependency in your system. Now imagine they just handed in their 2 weeks' notice. If that crucial system knowledge lives exclusively in their head, you've just hit the bus factor. A lack of internal documentation leaves a company literally one resignation letter away from a total operational crisis. See, good documentation is a shield for your entire business. Internally, it turns a 3-week onboarding nightmare into a 3-day breeze, and it prevents code decay. Externally, it empowers users with self-service, and we all know that stuck users churn. And at the executive level, it guarantees you stay compliant with strict frameworks like GDPR and HIPAA. This ecosystem is quite literally what keeps the lights on. So, Section 3, Project versus Product and the Paradigm Shift. The crucial point is, why do teams abandon docs in the first place? Actually, scratch that. It isn't laziness. It is almost always an organizational design problem. We need a fundamental paradigm shift in how we view the software we build. Let's clearly contrast these two mindsets. The project mindset is extremely dangerous. It views development as temporary. Teams rush to hit a deadline, cut corners on docs, and once they launch, the team disbands. This is the classic project trap. Undocumented legacy code is suddenly dumped onto a support team that has zero context, which just results in frantic emergency patches. On the flip side, the product mindset views software as a living entity that delivers continuous value. It utilizes a long-term team, maintains a living knowledge base, and absolutely prioritizes continuous refactoring. To truly adopt this product mindset, you have to embrace one massive shift in perspective. Launch is merely version 1.0. A new feature simply isn't done. You cannot mark it complete until the API specs, the user guides, and the release notes are updated right alongside it. Maintenance has to become a continuous roadmap priority, not an afterthought. Which brings us to Section 4, Software Lifecycle Mapping, the Blueprint. Now that we have the right mindset, let's map out exactly what this living documentation looks like as an application evolves from a raw idea into a live production system. And this brilliantly illustrates how documentation acts as a synchronized blueprint at every single phase. During discovery, you have PRDs and prototypes defining what needs to be built and why. Moving into the build phase, API specs and entity diagrams map out the database so developers don't block each other. In QA, test plans and traceability matrices ensure every single requirement is actually tested. Finally, in ops, runbooks and release notes give your site reliability teams the exact playbooks they need to handle outages. Documentation isn't created all at once. It evolves dynamically. All right, Section 5, the AI revolution, a fundamental transformation. This is where things get incredibly fascinating. Because artificial intelligence isn't just a tool to help us type a bit faster, it's fundamentally transforming the very medium of documentation itself. So let's take a breath and ask, how exactly has artificial intelligence shifted this entire landscape? Because we are rapidly moving away from developers manually writing out tedious specs from scratch. The human role is shifting toward human-in-the-loop curation, meaning editing, validating context, and ensuring safety on automated drafts generated directly from code diffs. And this leads us to perhaps the most mind-bending new concept in modern development, AGENTS.md. Modern teams are no longer just writing documentation for other humans. They are writing machine-readable documentation, specifically maintained to feed code-based context, architectural limits, and code styles to AI coding assistants like Cursor, Copilot, and Claude. You literally have to give the AI rules so it doesn't break your logic during generation. Notice the stark contrast here. The static, dusty 50-page PDF is dead. Instead, we have conversational RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, where users simply ask an in-app AI assistant a natural language question and get an instant, precise answer. No more digging through nested wikis. Combine that with multimodal live sync, where diagrams update automatically upon code deployment, and your documentation is finally a living, breathing ecosystem. Let's move to Section 6 and see how this builds into the modern playbook. We've covered the why and the how. Now let's equip you with actionable steps to ensure your own digital applications scale safely. Here are 4 highly actionable rules for you. First, treat docs like code. Store your markdowns right there in Git alongside your codebase. Second, document for humans and AI by maintaining clean readmes for people and clean agents.md specs for your tools. Third, automate the repetitive bits using tools like OpenAPI and Storybook. And fourth, formally shift to a product mindset by completely redefining your sprint's definition of done so that code, tests, and documentation are all updated together as one package. I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to ponder today. Take a hard look at your own technical debt and your current code base and ask yourself, if your lead developer left today, how much of your product would completely disappear with them? Don't let your software be a ticking time bomb. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.